Hello and welcome to another ISM Lunch and Learn webinar, our final one for March 2018. Today we're going to be speaking with Mr. Joni Girardi regarding sales dashboards for distribution companies. Joni has several years, over 20 years experience in the Sage 100 and related fields, so we're very proud to have him with us today. A bit of housekeeping, all lines will be muted during the presentation and will be opened up at the end for questions. If a question would come up during the presentation, please feel free to use the chat pane or the question window, and we'll address those when finished. With that, I want to introduce Joni. Joni, thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Sherry. Much appreciated. Let me just double check you can hear me well and you can see my mouse moving.
Yes, perfectly.
Sherry, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. As Sherry introduced me, my name is Joni Girardi. I'm DataSelf founder and CEO. I've been working with business intelligence for mid-sized companies for about almost 20 years now, as the company founder for 13 years. And in the course of these 13 years, we have helped hundreds of organizations using Sage products and other products to get better information out of the system. And I'm really excited about today talking about how analytics and business intelligence and also DataSelf can help distribution organizations to do better looking at sales dashboards. So I'm going to get started. The main idea of this webinar is how to make your sales team's interactions with customers more educated, targeted, and efficient. The idea is improve your sales team efforts in a way that you can get more, better sales and more profitable sales from your client base. From an agenda standpoint, we'll talk about some key metrics for sales management. We'll talk about the critical role of data for maximizing sales. We'll talk about how to engage salespeople with analytics, and as Sherry mentioned, we'll open a Q&A at the end of the session. So for those of you who are trying to learn different ways and metrics that can help improve your sales processes, I highly encourage reading this book, Cracking the Sales Management Code by Jason Jordan. He did a research and found out that there are hundreds of metrics that can be looked at to improve sales processes. And most importantly, he categorized those metrics in three main buckets that can help organizations to better focus on what's important for each organization. You know, your needs might be unique, but probably there are many ways that by reading this book, you'll find better ways to do sales metrics out of your processes. And one of the main questions that Mr. Jordan asked as he went through this research is, can the company actually manage the metric? You know, if you're just looking at a metric to see how is it going, but you cannot do anything about it, is it really important? When it comes to metrics, we always tell people that metrics should be actionable. You should be able to look at a metric and help you make something about it so you can improve the metric over the years or over time. So being manageable is really important. And when looking with this perspective, he found out there are primarily three main types of sales metrics. The first one is sales activities, or things that you control, or things that you can get your team, the sales team, to do better, to do more, because you can control them. For instance, calls, emails, visits. How many of these things you're doing on an ongoing basis? This is typically completely within your team's control. You can see how things are going, and you can improve them over time. Second are sales objectives. Sales objectives are things like, number of opportunities that you have in your pipeline. What is the opportunity stage, or how are things moving from one step to another? Well, sales objectives are usually more used for diagnosis and planning You don't actually control fully the process because you depend on your clients and prospects to respond to your activities. But by looking at, how many opportunities you're opening, how long it's taking to move one opportunity from one stage to another, you can learn how to do this process more efficiently. You can teach your sales team what kind of techniques, materials, and process they have to go through to help opportunities to either move forward and close or get out of the pipeline. So sales objectives, again, you have less control, but you can still influence the way that you look at the process. And finally, you have the business results, what the actual outcome of your sales activities, which is usually your revenues, your gross profits, and things of that nature. Overall, business results is mostly for reporting. You do not control the outcome of your business. But when you look at all of these metrics together, they kind of interact with each other in a way that you can have a better understanding of your sales processes and therefore improve the efficiency of your sales interactions with your clients. Now, as Mr. Jordan went through this whole study, he found out that among these organizations that he interviewed, they're mostly large organizations. He found that about 17% of the metrics were around sales activities, 59% sales objectives, and 24% business results. This is just the outcome of his research, but he was telling that overall, people should do more around sales activities because this is the part that you control the most. So some of the things for you guys to think about. Now, let's take a look at some example of sales manager dashboards that they can help people to go through what we just discussed. So my idea is to show some dashboards that help with sales activities, sales objectives, and business results. So now I'm switching to the DataSelf analytics dashboard portal, and I'm going to show some examples of dashboards. These dashboards that I'm going to show you, they are available out of the box in the DataSelf framework. However, feel free to get some of these ideas and build your own dashboards using, I don't know, whatever the tool that you're comfortable with. But out of the box, we have several of them. And this dashboard here is an example of a sales activity dashboard. It has the list of, salespeople. In this case, it's looking at CRM information, recent contacts by rep. And the idea here, we have the last contact in looking from a week standpoint. So these are the number of contacts that each one of these reps have done in this current week. These are the contacts that they done 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And the idea for this dashboard is overall, your reps should be in a fairly frequent contact with your prospects, sometimes once a week, maybe once every other week, once a month. You decide how often your reps have to be in contact with your opportunities. But the idea is you should be paying attention that your account managers are really not leaving opportunities and contacts to fall much behind. So this is one way to manage reps, by looking at those things. And the idea of these dashboards is to be interactive. So let's say right now, I have here this kind of chart showing contacts by week, and at the bottom, I have the actual opportunity by rep. So if I choose one of the reps at the top, it will filter the bottom to show exactly opportunities by this particular sales rep. I can see the account names, when it's expected to close, the status, the amount, and I can say, hey, I only want to see certain type of opportunities, only the ones that are in, let's say, in the validate and decision process. So making these dashboards that are interactive are usually very helpful to get your management and your salespeople to fine-tune their processes and focus on what's important, what's most important. So this is one example of a activity sales kind of activity sales report or dashboard. The second one I'm going to show is more looking from a sales objectives. So this is looking at the actual pipeline or open opportunity. So again, I have here my account managers. Each one of them, we have a bar showing how much we have in open opportunities in the CRM system. And when you add all of them together, you can see how big is your pipeline. Now, this kind of dashboard can come from the CRM system. It can come from open sales orders. And the idea, again, is to help make the process more efficient. And usually this is a journey, this is a process. I always tell our clients that when they start embarking in a business intelligence framework to improve their data analysis, it's a journey. You know, when you start to have some ideas, you have some challenges, and as you walk through the process, you'll learn by looking at your data and your processes how you can make things more efficient. This particular dashboard, when we started one of our clients, it was just showing information as I show you right now. So as you select different account managers, you can see the individual opportunities at the bottom. And then one of our clients, he took this dashboard and started to use it in their sales management meetings. And they realized that in their processes, when they were talking about opportunities, was very important to look at the actual sales, past sales, because usually the past sales would somehow influence how they would close new sales. So one thing that that this client did in their dashboard, they added this additional actions from the dashboard. So let's say if they're talking about one of these clients and they want to email the client, right from here, from the dashboard, they will click this link. This link would open the email client and they could write an email to send to the client right there during their meeting. So they didn't have to go through a dashboard and look at the ERP system to find the person's email and so forth. No, I mean, right from the dashboard, they could shoot an email. Or they could open receivables. Sometimes the status of open receivables would affect the decision that the team would have around promoting or giving an extra discount or making some kind of incentive for the client to close the deal sooner than later. And also the sales. So if I click here, this, let's say the sales, it would automatically goes to another part of the dashboard that shows actual sales. So this from those metrics, you know, we're talking about business results. This is actually showing, again, sales by account manager, and at the bottom, what are the actual sales that the salesperson has done in this quarter. So if I choose John Fitch, I can see what he has sold. If I choose Brian, so what he has sold. So kind of, you know, interactive report showing business results. So I just showed you 3 examples of dashboards, one covering sales activities, one covering sales objectives, and one covering sales results. Now, another one of our clients actually combined the objectives, activities, and results in a single dashboard just by drag and dropping and putting something like this. On the left side, he can see in the single dashboard, these are sales by the account manager, and then what's being sold. On the top right quadrant, he has actually activities coming from CRM, looking at, you know, emails, phones, demos, meetings, and so forth. And at the bottom, he has open opportunity by account manager. And what this particular client found out by looking at these activities overall, this dashboard, was that the most successful salespeople were the ones who would do a lot of calls and also a certain type of meetings. So if you have a good blend of calls and meetings, you have a lot of sales. So, you know, the top 2 have a good combo of meetings and calls. They have good sales. This person, not a lot of calls, but a lot of meetings. The sales was fine. This person only calls, no meetings, was a lot more activities than this person, but less sales. So the point is, calls alone were not enough. They would have to have also meetings to be more effective. Anyhow, by finding out those trends, by looking at the data, they were able to manage and to train the people, the salespeople that were not doing efficiently some of the activities to improve the overall efficiency of the team. As you well know, typically in a sales team, you always have some people that are the high performers and many others that are not so high performers. And one of the goals is for you as the company owner, the VP of sales, is to learn from your team the things that are working and the things that are not working and help the whole team to become more efficient. And part of this learning is by talking with salespeople, and they're going to give a lot of good tips. And sometimes it's by looking at the data per se. So when you look at the data per se, and when you look at and you talk with people, usually you'll learn much better what's going on, and you'll be able to teach and train your whole sales team to become more efficient. So these are some of the examples about those 3 types of key metrics. Now let's talk about the critical role of data for maximizing sales from the perspective of salespeople. In my prior example, I was talking mostly about sales management, sales managers, people who are managing sales teams, and what kind of reports and dashboards they can pay attention to, what kind of metrics they can pay attention to. Well, when it comes to individual salespeople, they have different motivations, they have different perspectives. So we need to be sure that the data supporting them will make them more effective. So overall, great salespeople are competitive, they're numbers driven, and they're curious. And people who have those traits, then the question is, what's important for a rep? What's motivating for them? Well, overall, one of the things is they should be learned from high performers. And high performers hopefully will be sharing with the other team what they have been doing that are more effective. So trying to come up with a culture where people share the good and the bad to help the whole team to become more effective. Now, in order for people to share, one of the good strategies is to make a commission component that is based on team performance. If you have no commission component based on team performance, sometimes some people may just think about themselves. They don't care about the others. They have no reason why to incentive other people to do better, and they don't share some of their, learnings that they have to improve processes. But if the commission is also based on the whole team performance, then every salesperson will be committed to help their peers to do better, because by everyone doing better, each individual rep will get more commission. So be sure that having these 2 bullet points covered well, and you'll see how much more sharing you get among your salespeople, and overall you'll get all of them to move up and do better. Now, part of these techniques to do better is conversation, meeting, talking, discussing things. But part of it is also looking at data that can help them also understand about the facts, the hard numbers, and see, as I was showing before, activities, what kind of activities people are actually doing that are helping them to close more deals. So make it easy for everyone to monitor progress, to monitor goals, and to compare against each other. Overall, always look at the market in your own industry and related industry to see what they're doing from a sales standpoint and get some inspiration. Quite often, sometimes you hear from other organizations certain tips that apply 100% to your business and can make a big difference. So always keep your ear open for what's going on out there. And most importantly, pay attention to the competition. Sometimes the competitors are one of the best source of information to help you look at your own processes and make them better. Finally, we have been doing analytics for more than 13 years at DataSelf. In the course of these 13 years, we have helped hundreds of organizations do better sales analysis. And in the course of this time, we have increased our templates for sales analysis that look at many different ways in many different key metrics, by salesperson, by customer, by product or service, by territory. Is it growing or declining since last year, this year, or the same period last year? So we have a lot of metrics that have proven to be important for many organizations. We have more than 3,000 total in our library of reports. And quite often when clients start with DataSelf, I always encourage them to kind of poke around, look at the out-of-the-box solution, because quite often many of those metrics will apply to your business. And if you pay attention to them, you can improve your sales processes. And as I go through my presentation, the dashboards that I'm showing are samples from our out-of-the-box solution. Here's an example of a dashboard that has proven to be valuable for account reps to be more effective. It's a quota dashboard that shows the company total. So it shows the total of the company so far, what the quota would be for this particular season, and if the actual is above the quota and it's in green, you see the same perspective looking from a territory standpoint, and then you see individual salesperson and how they're doing. The idea here is, again, if you have a culture of sharing in commissions, a part of commissions that are based on the team's performance, the idea here is for everyone to know how people are doing, and in a way to help the people who are not doing so well to do better. So a dashboard like this that shows the company, the departments, and the individuals is usually a good thing to help the teams to be helping each other and being more effective. Now let's take a look at some other out-of-the-box reports we have available for reps. So in this case, I was looking at some reports for sales managers. Now I'm going to switch to look at an example of a report or dashboard that was really effective for sales reps. This dashboard was also created by one of our clients, a distribution organization here in California. When they started DataSelf, they were just looking at some basic metrics out of their sales, and they decided that one of the main piece of information that reps should have at their fingertips is who's hot, who should they call next. And the idea is every account manager usually knows who they should call for the main prospects. There's usually some big things in the pipeline that the account manager doesn't need to be reminded. They know when they're going to go after them. So yes, people don't need to be reminded about those big prospects. However, for this particular organization, they also wanted to help reps to figure out who to call next after they ran out of, who should I call first? Of the people they would know from the top of their mind. And at the beginning of this process, and they ask salespeople, how do you decide who you should call next? And it was interesting because some salespeople, they have very well structured approaches on who to call next. Some people, they will just go down the list alphabetically by accounts. Some people look at, the last time they have contacted, it was a little bit of a mess, each person with their own processes. And by discussing with the salespeople and start discussing how they could come up with a better list of who's hot, eventually they come up with this who's hot dashboard. And the idea is this organization, they check how many hits or interactions each customer is having with the organization. And by hits, they mean calls, emails, and website visits. So they can actually know when a client goes to their website and clicks on different pages and they see how much interaction this client is having their website. So by looking at all of these interactions, they sort in a descending order by customer the number of hits. So if I'm an account manager and I'm looking at my territory, so when I select my territory at the bottom, automatically the dashboard changes to show who's hot in my own territory. And then when I look at this list here, yep, I already called Michael, I already called Subra. Oh, wow, yeah, Frederick. I forgot to call Frederick. My gosh, Jesus, I click Frederick, and then I go to customer trends. And right there, it shows me for Frederick, what are his customer trends? And this is the second piece of the puzzle. The company figured out before you call a customer, what kind of information you should be looking about these accounts trends. So when you call them, you can have a more targeted and educated conversation. So in this example, what they did was looking from a monthly basis, how much the sales was last year and this year, and how sales is accumulating throughout the year. That's one part of the information that was invaluable for the salesperson to be aware before calling the individual customer. And then, you know, based on today's month, which is just a sample database, they would see how the client was buying different product lines in the same period last year. And the idea was, if something is going up or down significantly since last year, what about it? So in this particular example where I'm playing the Frederick from a call, you know, if I would be calling, when I call Frederick, hey, Frederick, how are you doing? Do you need something from us? Any kind of problem? Once you go through the regular conversation, and then you're looking at this data and you say, hey, Frederick, last year, you bought a lot of dairy products. What's going on this year? Because, you know, you're barely buying it. So by having this kind of conversation, the company realized that quite often they were able to reverse certain trends of products that were in decline because a client was not happy or competition was taking some of their business, or if something was doing really well, buying so much more than last year, what's going on? Why are you guys selling so much more? And sometimes they realize that, well, it's because this particular client found a way to use this product better or sell this product better. And by knowing that, they were able to talk to the other reps, to talk to the other customers, and more quickly take advantage of something new that one of their clients found out, and they were able to help their other clients to learn those techniques and improve sales across the whole industry. So the idea was deciding who to call, before calling, what they should know before they have a conversation. And let's say when I'm finishing my call, let's say that Mason gives me a call. So I select Mason here, and I go through, I look at the same, you know, analysis as I'm talking with him. And I can also, hey, you know, profitability for Mason is pretty low. Well, if I click on profitability, this dashboard jumps into another section of the dashboard and shows profitability by product line. So as I'm talking with Mason in this case, I will know what can I do in negotiating with him to improve profitability, because in this case, profitability is a sales goal that if I'm below a certain threshold, I can be penalized with my commission. So I want to be sure that when I'm dealing with Mason, this time I'll do better, or I'll bring my my sales manager to deal and being able that I'm not going to be having my commission hit because of profitability with Mason. Anyhow, I'm just going over some ideas that have helped this organization to improve their sales processes, and hopefully can inspire your own team and look at your own business in using analytics like this to help you make your sales interactions a lot more educated and targeted. The last thing that also this organization did was they put this orders shipped this week in before. Quite often, account managers would not necessarily do a follow-up right after a shipment was done. So the idea was to have this report showing orders shipped this week. And the idea is every account manager, they can create their own processes of how to follow up. So let's say that they only care for orders shipped that are above a certain dollar amount, let's say above $5,000. If it's not above $5,000, it's a small shipment, it's not priority, just focus on the big ones. Well, one thing that we have done here is with this dashboard in this whole functionality in our framework is you can come here and say, hey, I want to do a alert. So every time that something is shipped above, let's say $5,000, I want to receive an email in my inbox telling me what happened. So I can do a follow-up with my client, letting them know that their order has been shipped, and if they have any questions, to come back to me. So in this case, the salesperson by himself, he can go into actually any of these dashboards, select the metric, and say alert. So let me just customize this view. Oopsie. So I'm creating an alert based on my sales, and the threshold is if it's above $5,000. Above $5,000, send me this alert. I want to receive it only when it's true. Send to myself and also send to my assistant, Joe Doe. And I click create alert. What happens is now every time that the order has been shipped above $5,000, I'll receive an email in my inbox, and then even if I'm out of business hours, or if I'm in a lunch and I got this email, don't forget to send an email to the client telling them something and following it up. So one of the things that also our clients are very excited about, the value that DataSelf provides for this whole dashboard, sales dashboards, is that as I mentioned, we have a lot of out of the box reports and dashboard that help them get started with a very comprehensive starting point. But these dashboards are very interactive, very easy to change. And usually in the course of days or weeks, these organizations have managed to customize the flow of their analytics very easily with very little or no requirement from experts. They don't have, like Crystal is usually complex and slow, Excel is usually complex and slow. With this framework, people can actually slice and dice the data, create variations of the dashboards in minutes, something that otherwise usually would take hours and days of consultants. Alrighty, let's move forward. Now, how to engage salespeople with analytics? Well, first of all, I always encourage clients when they're starting to embrace analytics is to work with reps or salespeople that are excited about data, that are data-driven people. I've seen many salespeople, very successful salespeople, they're not very data-driven, they're very people-driven, and sometimes they're not very excited about analytics and data until these new tools can help them become more effective. So my point is, don't bother yet with the people who are not very excited. Just focus on the people who are excited about analytics, who are data-driven, because those folks will help you figure out what metrics are important for your own salespeople and how you can customize these views to become effective. And these reps who are excited about analytics, they'll usually do and they will love it. They will help you get great sales dashboards put together and fine-tuned. Then, as you go through this process and you learn from them which dashboards and how they should look that will make a difference. When you come up with this framework, well, then it's time to start promoting it and showing to the other salespeople. And the idea, again, is to nurture team performance culture, is to show people that, hey, look at this sample of, these few salespeople that have been engaging with us for the past few weeks or months, and looking at this data and look at these stories that why they are increasing their sales because of this, and that. Look at the data supporting their decisions to make their sales more effective. So by learning from these reps, you start to spread out the word and get other people to be interested, because at the end of the day, they want to sell more, they want more commission, they want more tap on their back, and typically data will help them as long as the process has been already fine-tuned by the people who are willing to fine-tune the process. And the idea is just incorporate relevant metrics into sales processes. Sometimes people who build reports and dashboards, they put a lot of things into the system because they think it's cool, it's important. But what's really important is what salespeople want and what can help them. So be always attentive to see what salespeople are finding value in keeping those things focused and clean in those dashboards. Finally, make it easy to access analytics. The idea is salespeople have different styles. Some people look at reports and dashboards on desktops. Some look in mobile devices. Some people want to receive by email. So be sure to provide ways that salespeople will easily access their information anytime and anywhere. This is an example where we're looking at a Salesforce, but this could be any CRM system, could be Sage CRM, could be other CRM systems. Using a tool like DataSelf, you can easily take dashboards, any dashboard and report, and insert into other web applications. The idea is, let's say, if your salespeople are spending quite a bit of time in your CRM system or in your Sage ERP system, is to embed those reports and dashboards that are contextual to each step of their sales process to provide them with information and insights that can make that step more efficient. So make it easy, make it accessible anytime, anywhere. I'm going to show one more product demo. So now just looking overall how analytics can help sales to become more effective. I'm going to show some examples. This kind of dashboard here is a dashboard looking at the business results. So it's kind of lag metrics, but they usually have a big impact in future metrics. In this example, we're looking at top sales change since last period. In this case, I'm comparing this year to date versus prior year to date. Or this could be looking this quarter to date versus prior quarter to date. Or maybe this quarter versus the same quarter last year, whatever the period is. But the idea is to see which clients are growing the most in sales and which clients are declining the most in sales. Sometimes this is fine. Sometimes this is just regular business. But sometimes when you look at these major changes, you might find out some critical trends that are going on under the hood that if you pay attention closely in a timely fashion, you'll be able to more quickly take advantage of sales growth, or be sure to tackle any issues if you're having major sales decline. And this is kind of a typical report out of the box that for several of our clients have paid the investment in DataSelf. Sometimes just by looking at this, people realize, oh my God, this client we're losing for the competitor, and unless we look at this report, probably when we'll be realizing about it will be too late. Thank God we saw before it was too late. So this is one example of a critical report showing lag metrics, but can have a big impact in your future sales. Overall in DataSelf, so I was kind of showing some of these favorite reports and dashboards. You can also go to the home platform and just search for dashboards and reports. Let's say I want to see no sales. Show me something about no sales. So this example, I have 3 different workbooks that look at no sales. I'm going to choose no sales by customer. And let's say this year to date. I want to see in this example which customers that I had sales last year to date, but no sales this year to date. If you're a distributor, you have usually recurring customers. So why these customers bought last year to date and not this year to date? So this is one example showing another critical report looking at lag metrics, metrics that happened in the past, but can have a potential big impact in your future because, again, these can be problematic areas that you have to tackle in your business. And here, again, as I have my customers used by no sales at the top, I see also what products you were buying last year and not buying this year. And it's all interactive. So as I select a customer on my top report, it shows at the bottom what products they were buying last year. Now, the last out-of-the-box report I want to show to you is about projection. So when it comes to sales analysis, one of the big things that our clients ask is, we need to be more on top of our projection, sales projection by customer or by product, by territory, by salesperson, because that usually has a big impact in procurement, logistics, shipments, and everything else. This is one example of a sales projection dashboard. This sales projection dashboard is looking at an algorithm that looks at the past history to project what is the future expectation based on past history alone. So in this example, on this bottom chart, I have since 2015 the actual sales by month, and this is my current month in my sample database. And moving forward, this is what is the expected projected sales based on the prior history. The blue line is the average, and this shaded kind of blue area is what the band with that this can change. And at the top, I'm seeing 2 curves for 2 of my customers. So this purple is for this customer and this orange for the other customer. And when you combine these 2 curves, you have the bottom one. And here, if I select more customers, it keeps on adding on the top a curve for each one of these customers. Then at the bottom, it keeps on aggregating to give the projection for all of these combined customers. So this is a dashboard that uses some functionality to use sophisticated algorithm to calculate projection. Right now, I have all customers, actually for all customers, and this is my whole sales history. What is the projection for the next year and a half based on my whole customer history? So when it comes to projection, there are many ways that our analytics can fulfill projection analysis. One is like this one, simply looking at the past to try to project future transactions. Sometimes you can combine, let's say, open sales orders, opportunities in the pipeline from CRM, past results, combine them together to make a projection. Sometimes projection is also based on user input. Salespeople, they kind of have a feeling of what they're going to be closing the next few weeks or months, and then they plug those numbers into the algorithm and can be more effective helping with the sales projections. I hope you found this dashboard informative. Moving forward. So now let me talk a little bit about DataSelf and how we can help organizations do better with sales analytics and dashboards. And across the board, we help companies analyze anything, their sales, their CRM information, their inventory, financials, payables, receivables. no matter what data you want for your analytics, DataSelf can bring it together in your dashboards. And the way that we do is we pull data from your ERP and CRM systems. We can pull data from also other data sources like Google Analytics, payroll, social media, and others. We bring into a separate database called a data warehouse. We clean it, we optimize it, we make it easy, make it fast, and then we use an analytics platform to easily give you access to your reports and dashboards anytime, anywhere. You can use desktop, web, and mobile devices to access your reports and dashboards anytime, anywhere. The data warehouse, we use a SQL Server framework with our extraction transformation loading tool. We use Tableau and also now Power BI for analytics. And as I mentioned, in the course of 13 years in business, we have learned from many clients kind of reports and dashboards that have been helping them to become more effective looking at your data. And today, we have more than 5,000 reports, dashboards, and KPIs looking at many different areas of the organization. So I always tell people, what reports are you interested in? Sometimes people have, an idea of, hey, they need 5, 10 reports and dashboards that are really critical. Great. So we cover those, sometimes out of the box, sometimes with some customization. But right after they go over this initial hump, typically they become very interested in something else. What else is available? Well, out of the box, we have a lot. We have a lot of views that can help you focus on data analysis, focus on critical metrics, so you don't have to be spending too much time with data preparation and creation, but more on analyzing your own data. Now, if you want to move forward with DataSelf, how do you go about it? So first of all, we have some good news. It's very inexpensive to get the ball rolling. Our subscription starts at $300 per month, and adding additional users is usually a small addition to this initial fee. This initial fee includes usually one reporting area, like sales or opportunity analysis or financials. And then if you have more users or more templates, then you pay a little bit more. But it's very inexpensive to get moving forward and take advantage of this great framework. How long does it take to get DataSelf up and running? Great news. It's just a couple of hours. Once we close the deal and you give us access to install a data extractor to your system, in a couple of hours, we'll install the system, we'll deploy it. The data will be pushed to a cloud-based analytics platform, highly secured on Amazon Web Services. And then we'll train you and your team in how to get access to these reports and dashboards and how to easily customize them. What will be next? Well, if you learn more about analytics for sales, I encourage you to contact ISM or DataSelf. Look at our websites. There's plenty of materials. We can definitely help you analyze if DataSelf or any other analytics tool would be a good fit for your organization. In case you find that DataSelf, it sounds like a great fit and the price is right, well, order today. We can pretty much get DataSelf up and running for you pretty much, as I mentioned, in a couple of hours. Just contact ISM and we'll get the ball rolling. And with that, I would like to open for Q&A.
Thank you for that great presentation. I see that we have no questions at this time. Again, if you have further questions or you need something, would like more information, or to set up a one-on-one demo or call, please reach out to us at ISM at AM, that's AM for Account Manager, at goism.com, and we'll be glad to connect you. Thank you so much for your time. And Jenny, I'd like to thank you for that wonderful presentation. Please look for this presentation out on the ISM YouTube channel. It should be posted within the next 48 hours. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you all. Thank you, Cheryl, for the opportunity. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Jeremy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.